that the camera's on me, or anytime that the attention's on me, my court is in session, just so everybody knows. And it's important that we practice opening court, and at times when we need to speak the truth, or at times when we need to establish a document, establish something on the record, right?
Yes.
Establishing something on the record. They're called courts of record for a reason. So anytime the camera's on me, that's what's going on. Yeah, so a little bit about myself. Yeah, my name isn't Mortimer, but you can call me Mr. Rabbit. I am very familiar with the VSOF stuff. I've listened to hours and hours and hours of Zen because he has a really great radio voice. And I don't know if necessarily everything on that path is completely true or completely right, but it's nice that when people have support in something. And I did actually take a few pages out of Zen's book. I did authenticate my stuff because I wanted to know that I had some kind of title in my hand that was mine. And the whole concept of seals is very, very important. It does add power to things. Anytime that I issue a document out of my court, I stamp it with my seal. And I don't necessarily have the same type of seal. My seal is merely my fingerprint because it's established that way in my documentation. But lo and behold, I'm feeling empowered already. Just being able to use my power, you know. Exercising the power is very important. Not just knowing that you have the power, but exercising it, which is why, as you were saying, the Constitution isn't exacting. It doesn't execute itself, right? If you're going to have a right, you have to use the right. As Zen also says, he will say, if you don't exercise a right, you don't have a right. That's supposedly an old maxim of law. So today, actually, the topic of discussion, and the whole reason why I'm here to begin with, is because of my, I somehow was looked into the Signal group, and I saw you post some videos of a traffic stop, and I was like, ooh, my stomach churns just thinking about it, but I want to watch this. And so I watched the whole interaction, and it was, frankly, quite beautiful to see somebody standing up for their rights. Because nobody wants to be terrorized on the street, right? None of us are out there to do harm to people. So why are we being stopped in the streets? And why are we being asked for our papers, right? That sounds like something that Nazi Germany would do. I don't know. It just doesn't sound a lot like freedom. And I happen to know that the Fourth Amendment says that the right of people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. Well, it's written right there. It's like Moses came down from the mountain, and right there it is, in black and white. So why don't I have that right? Oh, because I don't stand up for it. Okay, so next time they stop me, I'm not going to tell them. I'm not going to give them my papers. I'm just going to say, no thanks. And that's exactly what I did. That's exactly what you did. Your guy was a lot nicer than my guy. The events that took place, I won't bore you with all of this, and more than anything, I won't force you to go through what I went through just by imagining it, because it was really quite uncivil what happened to me. And on the topic of the whole court case, I'm open to questions. Long story short, I became a criminal suddenly without due process. Okay? I became a criminal. And so this is why, and thank you so much for printing these out. Everybody, this is awesome to have them in the hands. I want to point out something. As you look at the 6th and 7th Amendments, think of them as twins. On the one hand, you have, in all criminal prosecutions, right? You have some special amendment for criminals. Hey, criminal prosecutions. And in the 7th Amendment, you have in suits at common law. Okay? You have something else. right? Who's in charge of criminal prosecutions? Generally, it's the state. We gave them that power, right? Or did we not? Am I wrong? Can anyone correct me?
Sounds right to me.
In criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial, blah, 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 to be confronted by the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, have assistance of counsel for his defense. Does it say in that sentence there that he has to hire a bar attorney?
No.
It does not. And would it surprise you that in my case, when they slapped me with criminal charges for standing upon my rights, what should happen? Where was I? What did I just say?
In that case,
I don't want to get off track. What was I just saying?
I don't know.
Okay.
Standing on your rights.
Oh yeah. Would it surprise you that I waive their counsel? I don't care if I'm indigent or whatever you want to call me. I'm not taking your advice. And why? Why would it be not smart, if you're going into court, why would it not be smart to take one of their lawyers?
It's an acknowledgement of incompetence.
It's an acknowledgement of incompetence. I would agree with
And
that.
they're representing you.
Well, but they're all on the same side. They're playing with each other. Okay, so they're used to each other's tricks. They know all the motions. But guess what they're not expecting? Wild cards like me who don't know what they're doing. Right? This is my first time in court. And I know about motions. And I know about rights. So I'm just doing the best I can. Right? Well, so far, it don't seem like they have the same sense of respect for court as I do. At least on the opposition. But we'll find out the rest of the story when we meet for pretrial. I did.
Can I ask you a quick question to back up just a little bit?
Mhm.
Can you kind of walk us through a little bit? Did the arresting officer take you directly to a magistrate?
He did not. Ooh, that's a good thing.
Because that is part of Utah criminal code. If you want the exact criminal
What
code,
section is that?
Would you write that down?
77-20-1. Otherwise, the arresting officer committed aggravated kidnapping with a deadly weapon.
Yeah, and this was a stranger, an armed stranger, for the record.
77
77-20-1.
-20-1.
Thank you.
Yeah. It was actually kind of scary, you know. This guy's strong. He's armed. He's got armor on. You think I'm going to take this guy down? No way. I was just nice, you know. I said no, thank you, you know. I was using good language, and they still did to me what they did to me right in front of my pregnant wife. And now I don't want to get off on an emotional tangent, so I'm going to stop right there. Seventh Amendment, suits at common law. The right of trial by a jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall otherwise be re-examined in any court of the United States. That's kind of cool. Do you notice that in suits at common law, do suits at common law have to happen in front of the state magistrates? Do they? Well, the state magistrates should be there probably for the criminal stuff, you know. I don't know. That's kind of why we hired them, to take care of dirty stuff. But suits at common law, we're in common law. We're not in equity court. We're not subject to any of that jurisdiction, right? We talk about jurisdiction a lot. I don't want to throw around that word willy-nilly. But yes, let's kind of move on to common law. Common law. Now, I'm guessing. I guess how many people here again were the VSOF guys? And
Like paperwork's all
so there's
going
a
or done.
few,
Sure.
A handful not? Okay, cool. Common law. I like Zen because he talks a lot about the common law. Bill Thornton actually is in, talks a lot about him, that 1512, go look at it. He'll teach you about motions and declarations at law. He'll teach you the difference between something, a suit at law or a suit in equity, right? Very important concepts to grasp if you are going to be running a common law court. Now, in my case, you know, obviously, I didn't have a choice to be in some kind of common law court. I was simply told, you're going to jail. And they took me to jail. They gave me two options. Either I could obey, which is what they use the verbiage obey. Comply is another one they like to use. He didn't comply. He didn't obey. You can either obey or we can seize you. They seized me. They broke and entering. They got into my car. They grabbed me.
Did they break windows? Or did they?
No, but they threatened to. That's why I was like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not trying to be civil with these guys. Hell no. I'm gonna be quiet so I don't get beat up. You know? And hell, you know something? Sometimes I feel we bring things on ourselves, like we manifest them. Don't you ever feel like that? Like I was reading about all this stuff, thinking about all this stuff, wondering about what might happen, and then it happened, right? And I went with it.
What did they pull you over for?
It's something so trivial, and you can read it on the information. I don't want to get into that because I won't argue that until we get proper jurisdiction. So I'm not going to argue it with you. I'm not going to argue it with anybody until we figure out who has jurisdiction. And yes, I have motioned to challenge that.
Where did this happen?
This is in the Pace and Justice Court.
And it sounds recent.
Yeah, you'd all probably be welcome to join in on the hearings. I think you can just chime in on the live streams. I can give you the case. You can read the case number off of my information as well. So yes, so all of this to say, and I'm trying to consolidate this into one whole thing. How is it that I suddenly became a criminal? Man, you know, it's too bad I'm not single because girls love criminals, right? How did I just become a criminal overnight and skip the whole civil process? I was trying to be civil.
Because you have civil rights right now instead of inalienable rights.
Well,
Inalienable.
yeah, okay.
Well, whether you have them or not, though, it doesn't matter because
That's how they're viewing it.
they think that you have no rights, that you have those.
Yeah,
civil
I was
rights.
told.
Because you're presumed to be a citizen of the United States.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a trivial matter, and there was no injury to any party. So I've asked them to produce an injured party, and we'll see what they say. They already told me they gave me all the discovery, but we'll see what they say to that. I'm gonna have to re-request an admission. And I do have some admissions on the record, by the way, that are quite damning. I think that this case is actually quite strong in my favor. Because, I don't know, I didn't say the wrong things. I didn't act contemptuously. I didn't try to fight anybody. I'm a civil person, and I like peace. That's what I like. So that's what I'm going to try to make when I'm out there. But I'm subject, like many of you, to a form of domestic terrorism called policing. And I don't like being policed. No, thank you. No, thank you. I'll call you when I need you. I'm glad that you're there, but don't police me. So, the way that they got me into this criminal system, where I would, normally if I was a normal person, I would probably just be scared and I grab one of their attorneys and their attorneys would be like, do this and this and this. Oh no, let's take a plea deal, blah, blah, blah. You know, these attorneys will walk you through it the way they walk everybody through it and they'll take a cut. You'll end up serving some time. There's no innocent in those courts. There's no innocent. You're either guilty or not guilty, right? I'm kind of teetering on a line here with between the courts of common law and the courts of equity. And I'm not actually quite sure where I am because they're very crafty devils, and maybe they did trick me somewhere along the way. And I'm actually in their court, actually in their jurisdiction, in which case I'm going to have to fight for my life. Like Daniel before the lions. But a man who knows his own innocence is as powerful as Daniel and can trust that God or whatever supreme being will close the mouth of the lions. So what happened actually is so if I wanted to throw you in jail as a criminal, I just walk up to the justice court and I sign up an information. Has anybody ever heard of an information? Did anybody do that? Look that word up. What does it mean?
Like an indictment filed with the court.
It's like an indictment. It says that they're similar. It's basically you're informing on somebody. You're snitching on somebody. So the police officers didn't like the way I was talking to them, and they took and they filed an information against me after skipping all the due process and the warrants and things like that. They don't need to deal with those because they've got city attorneys to help them just clean up their messes. Yeah, after they went ahead and did that, they filed an information, and then they called me a criminal. And guess what? I thought it was such a petty thing that I didn't even look up the fines or the punishments for these codes initially. And I turned up at an arraignment because I said I would. And under duress, by the way. And lo and behold, these guys want to put me in jail for up to a year. A year? I've got a pregnant wife. You think my job's just going to hold out for a year? Wow, this is a death sentence. Well, not nearly. Not quite. But it's not easy, you know? Why would somebody want me to spend that much time in jail for saying no thank you? Why? I stood up to their authority and they did not like that. It was not okay. It was not okay because they have the authority. Right?
No.
What do you
I
mean?
think
They have the guns.
Yeah,
They have the badges. What are you going to do about it?
be like you and like
Stand up, you're right.
Gentry's situation, know my rights.
I'll tell you what, though. When you're standing up for your rights, it's really hard. Especially in the face of that much opposition. They called in-
Nervous as I can't even believe
The one guy called in 6 extra guys for me. 6 extra guys. It took 7 guys.
You look evil.
I know. And I didn't resist. I mean, I did. I resisted, but not physically. Point is, doesn't matter. I must not have any rights because they can just break and entering. They can just undo my seatbelt. They can send threats at me. I'm going to cut your seatbelt off. They can do that kind of thing. And somehow they can get away with it. Don't seem right. But hey, what's keeping me from going down to the court, to the justice court, and filing information on them? These guys are criminals.
nothing.
Do you think that it would be processed the same?
No.
Do you think you'd have the opportunity to charge them with bail and all that stuff?
Not under their private service corporation that they work for.
Be warned, if you ever do end up in arrest, they'll take you down to the court, the county jail, or in my case, the county jail, and they will, they'll put you through a really inconvenient process, and they'll put you in a little confinement. It's not a cell. We didn't incarcerate you. We just detained you. It's got a little laser beam that goes around it, so if you get too close, it beams off, and everybody's alerted that you're trying to escape.
What class did they say you were?
B,
You were class B,
double B.
so they're considering you a felon,
No, misdemeanor.
misdemeanor. So you're
Misdemeanor.
class 3.
Mr. Demeanor is what I would like to be called.
My son got in some trouble and is sitting in a jail cell currently.
Currently. Really?
But as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, you know what, I need to make some strategies because I know for a fact they did not take him to a magistrate.
oh, there's lots of due process that they skipped. But guess what? It's really, really, really hard to pin down all those points and to argue that in front of their magistrate.
Just, sometimes they like to leave people in out, they like to do their jobs. Sometimes they make mistakes and they forget to do things like this, but on other times they wanna, cause I've seen situations where they make a mistake so that you can get out if,
Okay.
you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
okay.
So
Yeah, because they have
they're
their
doing their
standards
job,
and
but
their
they wanna
protocols.
leave you an out if you can find it, and so be
Right.
grateful for that when
Okay.
it comes along.
Well, thank you for playing the devil's advocate because I'm not being very fair to my opposition. I'm being emotional, right? I'm being emotional. And really, court doesn't really care too much about your emotions. They don't care too much. But can you file the right motions? That's what they care about, right? You can get anything you want, I believe, with a good argument on paper. And everything that Zen has done for y'all, that's just a really great argument on paper, right? So there's many, 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 many arguments on paper that you can make. And every case is going to be different. There's no one size fits all for these situations. You will always see things that aren't coming. There will always be a plot twist. They will always have some dirty trick, right? So you have to have your own plot twists and your own dirty tricks. And it's best if those things aren't necessarily incredibly well known. Yes?
So just try, and this is my experience, try not to embarrass them when they intentionally make a mistake in your favor.
When they intentionally make a mistake in your favor? Okay. All right.
Can you elaborate on what you mean by
Oh, I was in a thing where there was they took us all in and I was part of the party and they intentionally lost the evidence, and so, just so that they could let us go. Oh, where'd the evidence go, Well, we left it at the scene of the crime, so, and you could beat the officers up and malign them and make them feel, embarrassed or whatever, or angry, but in reality, you should be thanking them.
I should be thanking them. Okay.
Well,
Okay,
if,
fine.
if they leave you in
If-
out,
Yeah.
is what you're saying.
They lose the evidence.
Yeah, the problem, the true actual problem in all of this is the ignorance behind it. I would say 50-50 nescience and ignorance. You have officers who know what your rights are and they just ignore it. And then you have the ones who are like genuinely like, yeah, I'm the law. Like, I'm sorry I have to do this to you. I'm sorry you're doing this to yourself, is what they'll tell you. Oh man, it's a pity you're doing this to yourself. Oh, shame on you. So, where was I?
You're filing motions.
Information.
Informations. Okay, before,
23
I know
minutes.
the night is getting a little late, so I
23.
wanna hurry this on.
Minutes, but he's good. We're doing good.
Who's ever seen an information? Who knows what one looks like? Okay, I will exhibit this for the class.
Are you getting these from the courts? Like, I know the courts will have, Utah courts or whatever, that they'll have the documents you can fill out.
This is from the court. The court sends this to me. They say, you've been snitched on. That's what they say. So what we have here is basically in the Justice Court of Payson. This was filed by their lawyer, the city's lawyer. They have over here, this is the way a court document looks. And I would pay very close attention to this over here. This is the way a court document looks. They will have the name of the court, and then they will have the plaintiff, who is the accuser, and the defendant, who is the accused. And over here they'll have the cause of action. It'll say what the whole thing is about. It's an information. It's not information, it's an information. Okay? So think about that. It's an information. Someone is informing.
It's a noun, not a verb.
Yeah, it's an information, right. So it tells who the judge is. They opened a case, so there's a case number. You can do this too, actually. You can go down to a court. I don't know if the justice court will let you walk in and open a case, but why not try it? Walk down, and their court clerks are actually quite nice. So then they will have a list of all the offenses. Let's say, I'm charging you with this. I'm charging him with that. I'm charging him with the other. I don't like this guy. I really don't like this guy. And then, on the other side, they will, let's see. Oh, and they cite their statutes too. They cite their statutes so they know they're in the right. Okay? You can cite your own law too, so you can know that you're right in your informations, by the way. And then they have a probable cause statement. This somehow he could magically do this after the fact, and it would clear up all the mistakes he had made along the way. I don't know if he caught me or if I let him catch me. I don't know. We're gonna find out. Because we're gonna find out if I have any rights. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. And that's what we're about to find out. So yeah. Probable cause statement. I will probably leave this someplace so y'all can take a closer look at it. Or would you prefer that I pass it around? I want you to know what an information looks like.
Are you comfortable with?
Yeah, I'm okay with it as long as we can have privity in this circle. This is my court, so don't take this information outward. But one of the reasons why I wouldn't want to divulge this in front of a workmate. There you'll find all of the information. So, this is kind of gearing toward my final topic.
One thing I'd like to note real quick, you guys pay attention to his record keeping, right? He's got a filing cabinet. He's got papers in there. He's organized. That is very important to do. When you deal with these men, you have to keep record, like minute by minute, hour by hour, what happened, how your correspondence was back and forth.
And look, they're dealing with a lot of cases and a lot of stuff. They're not very busy doing their own record keeping. Do it for them.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Did you happen to video the
I was
encounter?
asking the same.
I got all of the discovery. I have everything.
I mean, so
From
I
them.
got a little bit. Just mostly audio from my dash.
Okay.
You know, I did.
That's one thing that I have learned though too, is that it is very important to have not one, but another backup way of videoing the entire encounter.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it
Yeah.
can be used as evidence.
So how do you do that if you're alone in the car with only a cell phone?
Buy another
Yeah.
camera.
A lot of
$200 is like, we'll buy you one of the best dash cameras you can get.
Yep.
A lot of people are buying dash cams that have forward and backwards, so it shows you, and
You can
just-
rotate
Or
it,
just set
turn
your
it.
phone up
Mirror and
somehow, have a
show the-
little phone thing, put it on your dash, whatever you need to do to do that.
In my case, I got lucky, and they, after a couple of tries, were able to get me all of the relevant footage I felt that I needed. Enough to make my case quite strong. Yeah, and you can request these.
The police provided that for you?
Yes,
Well, yeah,
and
I'm-
They're
Discover.
wearing,
Oh, okay.
Yes.
from
I'm-
they're
there.
wearing a body
Yeah,
cam.
I'm the defendant in this case. Supposedly, I'm innocent until proven guilty. I have evidence to the contrary in my information.
So if I can pause just real fast for
Yeah.
just one quick moment. So go back into the thread for the Liberty Group, and I posted a thing with the sheriff talking about a process to go through when these things happen. My family, we have printed this out and put it in each of our vehicles. My kids, part of their driver training, go through this now, and I have them look through about if you get stopped, what you want to do.
Was that after after Gentry posted?
No.
Claire, and I have a copy of it right here.
I have
And
another
if you want a
copy.
copy of all this, that's part of it, you know.
Yeah.
So.
New, I don't have that.
And it's a former sheriff talking about these processes, and what they try to do is they're collecting evidence against you. That's the whole purpose of what they're doing in these stops, is they're collecting evidence against you. And everything you say and everything you give them goes against you. So even handing them your driver's license is an evidence against you.
Well, he
It's
gave me
kind
his
of an
list.
admission that you
Yeah,
agree that.
true, true,
Gave
true.
it voluntarily.
True. It's all about admissions, and so there's this really cool part about court. Make it fast about court, but between the information and the arraignment and the pretrial, you have this period they call discovery, where you get to discover things, and it's really fun. And you can ask any question to the other side, and you can request any information, any of their videos or whatever. It's really fun. So far, they haven't asked me for anything. Interesting. Yeah.
Oh, just one thing. We're wondering if they didn't give him video from the police car, and we're wondering if it exists. So we thought, well, one way we could check is, see, I think everything is run off their computer there, and they have an event log on the computer. So if they turn on you know, so you might request the event log.
So
off
here's
the computer.
something again in a line of questioning for officers. When they start rather than just jumping right into the things, you want to start lining out some questions ahead of time. So for example, you want to start off with, Officer so-and-so, can I get your name and badge number for the record before we start into this? Is your recording equipment working to the best of your knowledge? Mine is I am currently videoing as well. So now both parties are aware of what's going on.
You're already in court, man. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
You are in
exactly.
court as you sit, so you're compiling this as you're going along. Anyway, and I could go through the whole list of questions. This is
So-
what an officer
so yes.
gave us, to utilize as you go through this process. So that way you don't have to be as rattled going like, oh my gosh, what do I got to do?
Yeah.
It's a checklist. Pull it out, have your pen ready, and begin recording and start writing
Right.
it down.
And in
because
fact-
now he's in court with you right now.
And in fact, the first offense really is contempt of my court, because I was keeping my cool and he lost it. That's contempt. I'll throw him out. That's my court. You don't get to just bulldoze over me. No. I get the right to discovery. I get to ask questions. Don't I? I believe I do. That seems like a pretty fair civil right. So, on the subject of information, I'm speaking now only to those who believe in the concept of a grand jury at common law, similar to what is described in Clause 61 of the Magna Carta. I have dirt on these scumbags. I have an information, and I'm waiting to pass it off on somebody. Okay? My dad thinks I should be fair. I'm going to try to be fair. Mostly I want a good show.
Define fair.
I want a good show to prove to the world that I'm right. That's what I want. I don't necessarily care if anybody hangs over anything. I don't necessarily care over that. I just want the world to know that I was right. This is what I want. Because an offense against me is an offense against the people. And for that reason, I'm carrying around this information for any prospective grand jury that might pop up. So, on the subject of grand juries, how many people read Clause 61? Okay, here's more or less how it works. In the Magna Carta, they said, okay, so we have the right to completely take over and cause rebellion in the land and seize all the king's stuff and take our power back if, under these conditions, if we have an elected peerage of the people of 25. And if somebody brings forward a case and information that is strong enough against these guys, we will take this. There will be 4 of us elected among us who will take this and process serve it, basically. And say, hey, answer for this. We have a complaint. The people have a complaint. We're just the middle party. We're the 25 that are in charge with these heavy responsibilities. So please answer for this. And if they don't answer in 40 days, we're going to take this information to the 25. And the 25, guess what? They're allowed to recruit armies, basically. They can have the entire population behind them. That's what they're allowed. They're allowed that. Because they're the people. Because they're actually the true power. The true inherent power. Don't forget that it doesn't matter what the Constitution says, you still have rights. Right? And if the Constitution happens to agree with what you believe in, then God bless it. Point is, we all have rights, but we don't have rights unless we stand up for them. So, again, speaking to the grand jurors, if you can get your court together, if you can get organized in such a way that, and you can understand the law well enough that you can take informations forward and affect change, this information would be for you. But for now, I'm going to hold on to it. So, what is there left to say? I guess I've spoken far too long. Was there something that critical that I missed?
Question. So that's the information against the arresting officers, correct?
This is my information.
Oh, your information.
This is my information, which could be passed forward. Yes, it does go against the opposing parties in my case.
That can be anybody between officer, attorney, judge, and so on. And so anybody who puts their hands.
So would it help your case if 25 free men entered the court on your court date as a grand jury to bring the people against the court?
Whoa, that's pretty strong support. But I don't know.
We gotta know what we're doing.
But I don't know.
before we
But
do that.
I don't know because they've got bailiffs, and you can't just overrun the court. In fact, the courts are there for us. Everything's supposed to be civil. Even in criminal court, you're supposed to be civil, right? But the true power of a grand jury is behind the scenes, in my opinion. The grand jury could still be behind me, or maybe not. Maybe behind the other guy. For all the grand jury decides. But the grand jury is, to the point, extremely powerful. It is. There's a reason why it's kind of like the apex that everybody's looking at right now.
And we're close. We've got 14,
So,
I think, that we feel have recorded paper enough to where we're there.
right.
This is where I think we might have some confusion, is because in our minds, we probably feel like people need to get their paperwork done to get there, but in your mind, you don't. So can you differentiate the two?
Yes. If I were throwing an information at a jury, I would say first off, are you a true grand jury? Are you elected? That would be the first requirement. And there has to be some form of election.
So,
Actually, with your court, you can decide because you run your court how you want to run your court.
And I'm not going to argue with that, actually. I'm not going to argue
They
with
don't
that.
have to be elected, they can be selected.
So, yeah, I don't know that the election of a grand jury, because there are no grand juries in current U.S. actualization that are
Right.
elected.
It doesn't say who has to elect them, so maybe it's me. But I personally want my court cases to be fair. I want the sport. I want to win this thing, right? I don't want a rigged jury. So I'm out there doing my part, just by standing up for the rights of the people, and I'll assert it one more time. What's done unto me is done unto all the people. And so I guess I'll just kind of leave it at this for the evening. Yes?
well, in the regular courts, the two sides select the jurors. They elect the jurors essentially, right? So,
You run your own court.
just
The
as
attorneys do.
Yeah, they do, actually. The court
It's just
court does
not
select
very
the court does select. Yeah, the court does select. So
The
if it's my
attorneys
court,
do.
And that's why I say.
So if
you
it's my
select
court,
it.
yeah,
Yes,
so
that's
if it's
why
my
you
court,
select it.
then I select it.
It's their case, the
Cause that's
attorneys
when you
choose.
convene that.
Right. So, but I would also probably have a few other requirements for people who serve on the grand jury. For example, do they read and understand this?
Are they moral people?
Like, can you tell me without looking? You know, what's the Sixth Amendment? Criminal cases. You know, I want a grand jury that's competent in matters of law. So that's why all the training is very important. I would highly suggest, no matter what path you're on right now with your paperwork or whatever, looking into court procedure.
Jurisdictionary.
I've had jurisdictionary multiple times recommended to me, and I think that's probably something I'm going to do in the near future.
How about we get one knowledgeable retired person from every county in the state on call for grand jury? Then we got 29 available.
Hey, I like the sound of that. As long as it's fair, as long as it's good, fair. I love a good old fashioned fair fight. I love it. So
That's our goal. Our goal is to get a grand jury in Sanpete County, but this is where I almost feel like the reason why we don't meet a lot of people like you that haven't gone through basically Zen's process that is willing to stand up for their rights. You know, like so I think that's why we feel the way we do about what we've done is because we understand the process that it takes and you do have to learn a lot. Like I've learned a ton in 2 years, you know?
And all y'all have layers of defense. You know that you have like 5 shields in front of you, right?
Sure.
Zen has a very good aggressive defense counterattack move going on, which we should all study. In fact, I want to take a couple of pages out of Zen's book on some of that binding arbitration stuff. Really neat, really nifty stuff, getting people on notice right out the get-go.
Will you excuse us?
Yeah,
We
please,
will go tonight.
please. I need to get back to my wife and child. So, thank you very much for your time. And let's
Yeah, thank you.
and
Appreciate
let's
it.
all be one, the people. Okay?
Thanks,
Let's be the
Mr.
people.
Mayor.
Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Let us
Appreciate
know how we can help.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
too, please.
Hey, just thoughts and prayers for now.
Yeah.
I'll reach out if I need something more.
Thank you.